Again, hello everyone. So we are finally live. I am so excited for this discussion. I have here a few comments already showing up. Sai is already here. Hello, Sai. And Gerald actually thought that this was like 30 minutes ago. Originally, it was like 30 minutes ago, but since our friends here are not yet available during the time, we adjusted it to 12:30. But yeah, we are in different time zones, so really have to compromise.
Um,
But thank you so much for waiting. So this is the first technically discussion of In Cosmic Dreams for 2021 because this book is scheduled in January. So I have here beautiful girls, Filipino girls, who will
and
discuss this this book with me. Hello sa ating cameo. Anyway, please introduce yourself first. Let's start with Mary because she's on my left side. Go ahead, Mary.
Hi, I'm Mari from Mac and Books. I also do bookish stuff. What do I say about myself? Let me forget everything about myself. I was born in the Philippines, but I grew up in the U.S. I'm currently in Hawaii. I'm a grad student, but I love reading books, so I'm here.
Yay! Yay! How about you, Justin?
Hi, I'm Justine from Morena Monologues. I also do bookish content. I forgot everything about myself. And lately I've been doing journaling stuff too, so that's been fun. Born in the Philippines, and then I moved out here in the US in 2013 for school. And then now I'm living in Virginia, and this is my dog Arnie. He wants to be alive too, so
Hello, Arnie. All right, last is Marty.
Hi, I'm Marty from Quilling Time. And yun. Why do I feel nervous? uh, the
Chill lang.
butterflies in the stomach. Um, I teach by day and read by night and do some Twitter and Instagram stuff in the wee time of the day.
Yeah. All right. So, by the way, all the links, all their channel, Twitter, Instagram, and whatever they have is going to be on the description box. So make sure that you check them out because there are also booktubers, Filipino booktubers, Filipino represent. By the way, we also didn't talk about our color coding, but we ended up wearing blue. We we didn't really talk about this, but I was surprised because perhaps our book for the day is color blue. So yeah. So hello everybody again. This is Kat. You're on my channel. This is Cosmic Dreams. Let's move on to this book. We read Everlasting Nora by Marie Miranda Cruz this month. Actually, I just read it like yesterday, and um, but I know that the other girls have read it earlier. So yeah. Hello to everyone. We have some friends on the comment section. Again, Sai is here. Gerald is still up, I think. He's waiting for us to go live. Gusto ko yung sabog din yung brand ng mga friends natin from other countries. Yeah, sabog talaga, talaga. We are going to be very chill and very natural lang. Hello, Adrian is also here. Lian, Polly, Ian, thank you so much for coming in. Haven't read this one, but I'm a watch. Sure, but you have to read this after the show. Erica is also here. And then, of course, Adrian. Ang gaganda nyo po. Alam po namin. Ano ba kami lang to? Joke. It's us, you know? Oh, okay. So meron dito first comment about the book, Everlasting Nora Broke Me, sabi ni Polly. So, um, probably I'm just gonna give first the overview of the book. So Everlasting Nora is written by a Filipino author, and this follows the story of Nora, of course, and she is like 12 years old in the story. She lives in the Manila North Cemetery. She lived in the grave house of his father because her father died because of fire in their compound or in their house. So they lost their home and she lost her father. So she and her mother ended up living in the North Cemetery to in the grave house because they don't have any money because her mother doesn't have any work at all. So she's also not in school, and that's one of the most heartbreaking parts for me in this book. Is not she likes to study, but she had to stop because they don't have enough money even with for public school. And what else that happened in here? So this story started when her mother went missing one day. She woke up and her mother is gone, and she didn't go home for like a couple of days. So she went and find her mother of the whereabouts and all that stuff. So a lot of things are going to happen in this book, and I feel like it's very compressed. I mean, the books for a middle grade have so much happenings in terms of like events and sequence of events incomparable or in comparison to other middle grade books that I have read so far. Parang feeling ko this is sobrang, ano ba tawag dito, masyadong maraming nangyayari, parang masyado. Yeah, like I don't know. Also with I have read some middle grade books that like the font style is a little bit bigger, but this one is kind of smaller. Parang I don't know. I feel like it has so much more. Ang daming nangyari. Yun yung naisip ko. But yeah, wait lang. May mga comments kasi. So let's go into here pala before we started the discussion. Sabi ni Leo, okay, Wattpad. Okay, later we're gonna talk about other books. Blue Gang, yes. We didn't intend this to happen, but it happened.
Yeah.
Natalo ang freshness ng lahat. Siyempre, kami lang to iyan. Huwag kang ano. Hi, Eman and Richard is also here. And Moe, of course, they are all present. So right now in the Philippines, it's Saturday. So yeah, we are all free. And thank you again so much for agreeing to this because sabi ko sa sarili ko, baka hindi sila mag-agree. Ako lang mag-isa mag-discuss. Everlasting Nora. And I really thought na we cannot compromise with the time zone. So I'm glad that we did. So anyway, first question would be what are your general thoughts about the book, and after you've read it, what was your rating, or did you have initial rating and then final rating or whatever? General thoughts at first. I know that um I first I first saw Marie finish this book a few weeks ago, and I know that she gave this book 5 stars. But the the two of you, I don't know what your rating is. So probably you can start with Marie. What do you think about the book? General thoughts, and what's your final rating when you finished it?
I think I had a lot of the same reaction to you. There's a lot that goes on in this book, and it's a middle grade book, which is kind of insane. I really appreciated it because it did approach all of those subjects, despite those subjects tending to be heavy. I think that a lot of the time these days we want to protect kids from sort of darker, sadder stories, but I don't think that's really protection. It's exposure, in my opinion, and we all need to educate ourselves about stories like Nora's. So I was just really appreciative of being able to read this story and to spark research and finding out more about people who live in these kinds of situations and just know more about it. And then overall, it's just a beautiful story about friendship, about found families, about what being a family means. And a really great story of filial piety that isn't like bad filial piety, which I really appreciated as well.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Mary with how important, or no, I think it has been a taboo topic even here in the Philippines to talk about a lot of things that this book actually imparted to everyone. So medyo I mean, I have medyo ano ko dito 50-50, but I agree with you that it's really important to educate even middle grades with these issues. But anyway, we'll move on to that later. How about you, Marty? What are your general thoughts about this, and what have you rated it?
I'm actually still half-hearted with my rating. I initially rated it 5 stars when I first read the audiobook. Then I read it again and realized I missed a lot of heavy topics. Yes, it has a lot of heavy topics to talk about in a middle grade novel. So it went a little down, like 4.5,
Mm-hmm.
because it talks about a lot of stuff, heavy
Yeah.
stuff at that.
Mm-mm.
And I think it only brushed on the surface level of those stuff, because a lot of those stuff rooted from more serious stuff in the Philippines that are happening even at present time. And so I think we need more pages for those stuff to be addressed, especially
Mm-hmm.
the issue of Nora's mother,
Mm-mm.
with her gambling and all of that. Um, and Nora's psychology, like Nora's mental health, we have to address that. um,
Yeah.
we need more pages about Nora's mental health, because whatever she has suffered is insane. It's unthinkable for like just a 12 years old to suffer all of this stuff alone, like basically alone, because she has issues in seeking for help. Yun. So that's my main what do you call this? It's my main issue in dropping it to 4.5, because there are a lot of heavy topics that were not thoroughly discussed, but were brushed on the surface. So I think
Yeah.
that's, but it's a good book, and I even recommend it to. I even told my husband that this should be recommended for required reading in school, because we
I
have
agree.
to. Yes, you're correct. Educate our young people. This happens. This incident led the life of Nora. The instances in her life. This happened to a lot of kids in our times, even in our times, not only in the times of Nora. So
Yeah.
yeah, relevant novel and a must read for everybody.
Yeah.
4.5.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I think the one thing that I've thought of after I finished it last night is that this should be read by grade 6 or grade 7 in the Philippines, or somewhere that age range, because of how, yeah, you're right. It's a heavy topic, but it's also a topic that's essential. And also, someone could, see themselves in that story, especially if, like, for example, me, I teach in public school. So I feel like a lot of my students will relate to the story of Nora. So that's one thing that I really thought of. Yeah. So thank you for that, Marty. How about you, Justin? What is your final thought, or what are your general thoughts, and what's your final rating?
So my rating was 5 stars. I think it really highlights poverty in the Philippines, and I don't think I've ever read a middle grade book that really does that job. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
haven't really read much middle grade books anyways, but I mean, now I'm starting to like read middle grade books, but I've never seen one that just really highlights something that is so familiar, especially for Filipinos. And but even though it did have heavy topics about like poverty and Nora's mom's gambling addiction, it does still bring like the compassion and people that have helped Nora even when they didn't have much themselves, especially like Jojo and his Lola um, and Efren. So I really like the book and how uh, the author just put that all in one story. That even though they're in like this they're living in this graveyard, they still find hope in it and they're still trying to make the best of it.
Yeah, I agree with. I think the balance of negative things that are happening in Nora's life also have this counterpart of goodness and compassion from people around her, and you will very that's very evident in the book. So personally, I haven't rated it because again I don't rate books anymore, but perhaps I will give it 4 stars or 4.5. I have some issues with it, but it's just very minimal. I agree that these topics should be taught in this grade level in middle grades. So I believe in the importance of this book and all the issues that it has brought up. Like I have read what's it called, the My Fate According to the Butterfly last year by Gail D. Villanueva, and that is like a total opposite of their, I mean, Sab's story is like for someone who has a privileged life and someone who has shelter, who has home, who has a family that's very close to her, or has someone that studies in a prestigious school. And Nora is like a total opposite. So I think it balances that not everyone in the Philippines have the same life as the one in My Fate According to the Butterfly. So I'm really glad that I was able to read this book because there is like a comparison of their lives. I could definitely say that Nora's family and everyone in her surroundings are the majority are, what do you call this, under the poverty line that we call in the Philippines. So marami talaga sa kanila walang shelter because they live in the cemetery or they live in squatter, and they don't even at 10 years old or 9 years old, they do a lot of like jobs, yung mga racket sideline hustle like that. So this is not, I mean, this is a story that's very rare to see in books, but it's not very rare to see in the Philippines. Like we, personally, I know a lot of students who live in squatters and they don't have shelter.
Cat.
Sorry, I'm lag. Ah,
That me?
No.
No, no.
Cat.
Okay.
oh,
Oh, she's gone. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming to the live show.
nakita nyo na kung gaano. Okay na ako? Nakita nyo na.
Ay, naku, Philippines.
Nakita nyo na. Kahit tanghali, PLDT ka. Nakakaloka talaga. Hindi lang to gabi. Is my connection better?
Yes.
Is it? Okay, a lot of people are commenting again. I'm sorry, I don't know where I stopped. Ewan ko sa inyo. Ayan, pag nawala ako, girls, mag-intermission muna kayo. Entertain or what? Yes. Anyway, so I didn't know where I stopped, but again, I guess what I was trying to say is how just it opened my mind to a lot of things. And even though I grew up in a family that, or I grew up in a home that's very privileged in my opinion, I guess I still understand and I can still see the lives of my students and the lives of Nora. So probably it's because I'm a teacher. So yeah, it reflected, it mirrored their lives in this book. And I just want them to read this book so much. I just want them to see themselves in this book. Anyway, so there are some comments in here from our audience. Sai have read this book and he said in here that I'm glad that Marie Miranda Cruz wrote Everlasting Nora because Pinoy children needs to have Pinoy books to read that mirrors not just their own culture but the reality of life as well. And I think that's the strongest point of this book, how it was brave enough to show the reality of poverty life in the Philippines. Um, he also said here that she's brave in portraying this kind of life because this is how the majority of poor Filipinos live, survive in day-to-day basis. That is so correct. Um, Also, Polly have read this and said na a lot of people are ready to talk about how poor or how homeless people really live. And that is something, I remember that is something that we talk also in My Fate According to the Butterfly live show with Kate, that there is this notion in the US na parang the things that are happening in the Philippines are not real. Like, yung mga like the people that live in squatters area or those are homeless people or like the ones MRT are not working real it's not working that great in the Philippines. The transportation is really bad. So those are the things that they don't know and they dismiss because they thought that it's just fiction. What they don't know is that it mirrors a reality. So yeah, that's a good one. Okay, there's are just okay comments about how I missed reset. Okay. All right. So I think it's safe to say that even though, like for example, Marie and Justin are in the U.S., they still think that this book reflects our culture and the reality of lives in the Filipinos, and also me and Marty. So my next question would be, what are your notes go? What do you think about the following elements of the book? First off, let's talk about the characters in here. There are a lot of characters, but I think we can pinpoint them even though we forget the names because there's a lot. There's a lot of people in this story. Again, we have the main characters Nora and her mom, Lorna. I think that's the name. And then Nora has a best friend. It's Jojo. And then Jojo has a grandmother. I forgot the name. Lola. Ano
Mercy,
pangalan?
Lola Mercy.
Yeah, Lola Mercy, and then other people in the story. So, what are your thoughts about the characters, and sino sa inyo or who among the characters stood out for you, who you can relate to the most, or maybe probably who you can really reflected upon reading this book? Yeah, anyone who'd like to start? All right, before we start, sabi ni Polly, the last story I read that portrayed the reality of Filipinos life was Tata Celo, and that's way back in high school pa. And this it's a thing here in the Philippines that we keep on reading books that are just I know that it's a classic literature in the Philippines, but I think there is so much more in the present day that could actually reflect the present people in the
More
Philippines.
relatable.
Yeah. So parang for me, why does the curriculum like hello, ang dami kaya. Ayun, so anyone who has like an answer already, who is your favorite character or who stood out for you?
I think my favorite character was Ephraim, because I remember reading it in the acknowledgments or at the very end of the book where Marie talks about how he was based off of an actual person who was a teacher and a social worker. So I think
Yeah.
I really liked his character because it shows how a lot of people do go out of their way to try and educate people that don't have the opportunity to do so, especially kids that live in poverty. So
Mm-hmm.
the fact that he took time out of his day to go and help out these kids to learn, because I think education is definitely a right, not a privilege, and all of the kids need to be educated because how are you like at this day and age you have to go to school to actually learn about things, and it was really hard for just kids not being able to get that opportunity because they can't afford it. Because I mean, even in public schools in the Philippines, you have to pay for uniforms and
Yeah.
books still. So like if you don't have the opportunity or the means to do so, it's really heartbreaking to not be able to go to school, especially in Nora's situation where she used to go to school. She loves going to school, and then like their house burned down, so now she's living in the graveyard. She can't go to school, but she's really trying to like stay on top of her studies. And the fact that Efren was there to help her out and help these other kids out just was like, oh my gosh, it's so heartbreaking, but at the same time, it was like so nice to see because it really does happen, especially because he's based off of an actual person who I believe has an organization that helps out the kids that can't go to school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would second that because Efren Peña Florida was like a cameo in this fictional story. He's a real person based on a real person, and I guess everybody from the Philippines knows who Efren Peña Florida is. He's like the one with the kariton. What do you call that cart?
Yeah.
Anong tawag dun sa project niya? I forgot. Like
Wait.
Cartwheel,
I
cartwheel
forgot. Wait
education.
lang. There is like a name for his project, but I forgot. But he is the one who won the CNN Hero of the Year back in
In
2009.
2009.
Yeah, I forgot what is it called. Yung Kariton. Kariton something. Kalimutan
I
ko
looked
na.
it up.
Ano, Kariton Classroom. Is it Kariton Classroom? I think it was. So, all I know about Efren's story is that he goes to places in the Philippines wherein there's a lot of out of school youth and out of school children. So these are children who don't go to school at all, or who don't have like the opportunity to go to school, and he teaches um these children to read, write, and math, I think. So those are like the three major um skills that he teaches. So yun, Kaditon Classroom is, I think, correct. I have forgotten because it's been a long time. But anyway, I agree with that. Efren is such good soul. Such a good soul. I mean, everything that he does for the children in Metro Manila, in the squatters area and the resettlements area, are just priceless. So, and I was really happy that Marie Miranda Cruz actually thought to put him in the story. It adds something, and it's a reality. Again, it's a reality of the poverty in the Philippines. Anyone else from you guys, Marie and Marty? No.
Let me have I have two most favorite. Aside from Efren, Kuya Efren is really a special character and I really like every time Nora mentions him. I remember our outreach programs in Teacher Ed. We also have those kinds of outreach programs. And yeah, we have here Aling Lydia and Lola Mercy. I actually like their characters.
Oh.
Especially Lola Mercy. It brings tears again. Lola Mercy is the reflection of every Lola I know who are good Lola. Who are good Lola. Good Lolas are those Lolas who makes us eat every time. Like, "Masakit ulo ko lola." "Oh, eat. Ano, eat apo, eat. Gutom lang 'yan." Like, "Lola, masakit yung tiyan ko." "Eat apo, gutom lang 'yan." O kaya, "Lola, I'm sad." "Eat apo, gutom lang 'yan." Those kinds of lola. My lola, one of my lolas, uh, passed away 3 years ago, and but we still miss her. And she's that kind of Lola. And Lola Mercy reminds me of my grandmother. Um, she's like our second mother. And then we have Aling Lydia. Aling Lydia, in her own way, even if she has can we say foul mouth? Even if she has like what do you call it? Aggressive attitude or behavior or something like that. She helps. She helps in her own way, and I appreciate that. Even if she does not know if Nora was telling the truth or not about her mother missing, she still offered Nora a place in the bakery, and I really appreciate people who gives jobs to people, to other people, and not just giving them money or food. It's because and I support Aling Lydia in wait, I'm not sure if it's Aling Lydia. But that Ale who they work for the laundry. Um, I'm not sure if it's Aling Lydia, but we have a neighbor, Aling Lydia. Yes. So Aling Lydia, she helps in her own way, and I like people who are like that. They help. Um, they give you the avenue to help yourself. They help in that way. So I like those kinds of people. So I like Lola Mercy and Aling Lydia. Unfortunately, Nora is so. Are we going to talk about Nora in other question or what? Are we going? Do you have
Alright,
another
sure.
question for her?
No, you can
Or
state your comments about why do you think Nora is an
Nora?
average, a
Yeah,
meh
yeah.
character. Go ahead.
Actually, characteristics wise, if you play online games, we call her OP, like overpowered character, um, because she's so ahead of her time. And, um, I'm not sure if I can even say that that there is no student like that, or there's no child who thinks like her. Maybe there is, but I don't know anybody. But in her age, suffering, or somebody in her age, like how old was she? 11, 12,
Of
12. In her age, who suffered trauma from the fire, from losing a home, from the maltreatment of their relatives. Somebody who experienced that would not easily recover and plan her life the way Nora did. That's why Well, I applaud Nora for having a plan for her life, because that's again one of her points. She's ahead of her time. She thinks actively. She's an she's if I have this situation, I have to do this or something like that. Her problem solving skills are so on point. And that's why I said a while ago that we have to make our students read this, because this is the kind of student that we would like to have, somebody who has a strong problem solving skill in themselves. Somebody who is also resilient, and resilient in a way that, yes, she whines, and she whines a lot about her mother, but that's just because she's a child. But yeah, she is a so-so character because, do you know Naruto? She's like that. She's an overpowered character. Like I can solve everything. Just
Everlasting Naruto.
just throw them away. Throw everything away. I can do that. I can solve that. Even if their neighbor would say, Nora, please be safe, be careful, do not go there, do not go here. You will be harmed if you will go there and there. And then Nora would just say, no, I have to do this. Wow. Wow. You remind me of One Punch Man. So
Yo.
many anime reference. Yeah, she's an OP character.
Yeah.
So that's that for
I think
Nora. That's why I cannot
yeah.
root for her, because she's already strong. She's already
Oh yeah,
brave.
I agree.
Anyway,
Um I think I agree with she's
kabog ba?
very advanced for her age. She's very, I don't know, very mature for a 12-year-old, because I teach seventh grade, like 10 to 12 years old, for like 5 years, and I haven't seen a child as
Somebody.
resilient as Nora is. So I think the reality of her life is very, I mean, the life that showed in this book is very realistic, but at the same time, the character development of Nora is kind of, it's one of a million, one of a kind. It's not a very common personality of 12-year-olds here in the Philippines. It's just, I don't think it is. But I know that there are a few children or a few kids who has the same age as hers that have the same personality, and I applaud them for that. I think the things that are happening, that happened in her life, really shaped her to be that person. But just a very minimal ano lang, very minimal
Sure.
critic about her character. Yeah, but still a good one. How about you, Marie? Who's your favorite character?
I will give one favorite character and one character that extremely interested me, and that's the two Lola. So Lola Feli and Lola Mercy. I loved, of course, Lola Mercy is the character I like. Just to clarify, again, her like Marty said, she's going to shove food down your throat no matter what, and I love that. We all have at least, I hope we all have someone like that in our lives. But I also personally have a Lola Feli in my life. And I feel like if I had read this as a kid, and I saw that um, Nora and her mother had gone through what they went through with Lola Feli, I would have felt really seen, because as a kid, like, you're taught that family is family, you're supposed to love family, and that family can do no wrong. But sometimes family just, it doesn't, they don't support you like you need them to. So I just was really appreciative of that character being in there, and then also the contrast that Lola Mercy is there, and that there is, an older person in your life who will look out for you, who will take care of you. And so I hoped that, like Marty pointed out, the trauma is not really manifesting as we would expect in Nora. So, like, part of me hopes that Lola Mercy kind of helps Nora deal with her trauma from what happened with Lola Feli, because that was, getting kicked out of a house at that young of an age after losing a house is extremely traumatic. But again, it wasn't really addressed too much. So, yeah.
Um, I think also I agree with Mary that the the character of Lola Feli also reflected on how imperfect our family culture also in the Philippines. So I love how Marie Miranda Cruz actually inserted this what do you call this? It actually complements every other characters in the story, like how Lola Mercy and how Lola Feli was the total opposite, like something that you can definitely see in Philippine culture as well. Like there are lolas who would, like Lola Mercy, give you everything that you need and support you with everything. But there are also some grandmothers or lolas in the Philippines who also, sometimes you think that they're a bitch. So I think it's very realistic at the same time. Um, Teka lang kasi ayun, meron dito comment si Gerald, sabi niya, very thankful that he actually grew up with his lola. I think he went out na si Gerald because ano na siya, may tutulog muna siya. So sabi niya dito, I'm so thankful for lolas. Lola ko nagpalaki at nag-nourish sa akin as a baklita since birth. And you can see that in his vlogs. His lola is really so supportive and very sweet. So, so galing yung palaki kasi. I agree. Grandparents are the best, but also there are some rare cases that our grandparents are not in their best, and that is evident. So yeah. Um, so those are personally pala, my favorite character is Lola Mercy. I think it's a very given answer. I also have a grandmother who's very close to me that passed away in 2016, and I don't know, I just remembered her while reading the book because she's also this very sweet and charming old woman who always reminds you to eat your food, eat your vegetables, to drink vitamins and sleep. Parang sleep early, ganyan. So I am very close to her. So we still missed her up to this day. And I don't know, I just remembered my Lola in her. She's one of my favorite characters, but also I appreciate how same with Marty. I also remembered Aling Vidya. She is like this, alam niyo yun, parang here in the Philippines there's always like this old woman or a woman who's always masungit. Who's always very annoying and is always very harsh with her words and how she treats you. But later on, when you need help, she's always there or she will be there and you won't expect it. So Aling Vidya has this very Filipino woman vibe. I don't know what with her character, but I was reminded of a lot of like what do you call that? Yung mga nagtitinda sa sari-sari store, the ones who have their own sari-sari store in their homes, and then they're very masungit with children. Tapos I remembered like um halimbawa natutulog sila and then you will buy 1 peso candy and then magsusungit sila kasi piso lang yung binili mo. So there, it's a very Filipino woman's vibe. I don't know with her character, but I was really interested. And then yeah, I think also Nora, although she has a good character and she has values that can be reflected on Filipino children, I just really think also that it's very, I don't know, she's very advanced for her age. She's very matured. And yeah, we've mentioned it earlier. Yeah. So those are some of the characters that we loved and what we thought of Nora. But what do you think about Marie Miranda Cruz writing style? About the tone, do you think, or do you think that this book is perfect for middle grade, like how she writes everything from beginning to end? Do you think this kind of writing style is going to be um understandable for Filipino middle grades, and just your opinion with how you read it? Kate is here. Hello, Kate. She said in here, mabuhay ang mga lola na ang stick nung bata ka, tapos nung lumaki ka, ang tigas sa ulo. Ayaw uminom ng gamot, ayaw pang beaten walker, wheelchair, etc., etc. I agree. Parang our lolas would like to take their revenge kasi matigas yung ulo natin nung bata tayo. So, matigas din yung ulo nila ngayon pagtanda nila. But anyway, I agree with that. I also had a lola like that before. But again, she also passed away. So yeah. Yeah, anong tanong ko? Writing style, the tone of the book, do you think it's perfect for the middle grades or Filipino middle grades? Anyone
I
would
think
like to go
it's
first?
understandable, especially if I really hope that those books get incorporated into like the reading list for schools, because I feel like if it is, then they'd have help with the teachers, because you have to analyze the book and then the teacher discusses the book and whatnot. You have like book reports, so I think it's a really good book that also challenges the kids if they do end up reading the book. And I think her writing style isn't really that hard to read, so or to comprehend. So I really like her writing style. So.
Me too. I like her writing style. She, don't have it. Marie Cruz has like cinematic telenovela-ish writing style.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially, I listened in the audiobook, so I can imagine I can imagine the chase scenes and even the duster of the mother, the biko, the banana queue, and all those
yeah.
Oh my god.
descriptive words. I really like the writing style. It's vivid. It's so clear, and
Hmm.
it paints a lot of pictures. It uses a lot of literary devices. So I think it would help if yes, to answer the question, yes, it is like perfect for actually middle grade, the writing itself. Not the topic is a little parental guidance needed, but the writing style is just the right amount for perfect writing style for middle grade. Paints a lot of pictures. It runs in your head.
Yeah.
Especially, I was painting when I was reading this, and I can I can see the scenes in my head while reading that. Times two speed. Because in the audiobook, it was Nora was speaking a lot slower, like this. It's really bothering me. So I sped up to times two speed, and it worked better.
Yeah. Same. Actually, Trish and I, we had like Trish is here. We had a conversation about how there's something wrong with the way that the narrator narrated the audiobook, and I don't know it. I have some opinion about it, but with the writing style, I think it's really great. It's just that I started it with audiobook, so it's kind of off for me. But anyway, let's move on. Marie, what do you think about the writing style? Do you think it's perfect, the perfect tone for middle grade?
Yeah, whenever I read middle grade recently, I can always think about what Gail D. Villanueva said about it. She has a live show with Kate and Shalea, and for some reason, it has stuck with me ever since. She talked about how it's a lot. There are special difficulties that come with writing middle grade,
Mm-hmm.
um, in that you have to keep in mind that a kid's attention span is a lot shorter than an adult. So
Mm-hmm.
as an adult writing for a kid, you have to keep fast pace. And I really enjoyed that you could see the there were times when you would go into like a flashback or into a scene, and it would delve into it, and you would get enough, but then it would just keep on moving. And I
Mm-hmm.
really appreciated that because I could see a middle schooler being genuinely interested in continuing to read the book. So I thought the pacing was really great. I thought the tone was really great. It was kind of like, I would say it was superficial for some of it, like we talked about earlier with the trauma and everything. But I think that it has to be superficial because when we're kids, like we don't know all the time. We don't always delve into those issues until we're older. We realize that. So I thought that that was really well handled as well. Yeah, just overall great writing for middle grade in my amateur opinion.
Yeah, I also agree. Some of our audience commented, like Polly said, that her writing style is perfect for middle grade since it's not too hard to understand, and I think that's very it's a common opinion among us. Kate also agreed with Justin earlier that Everlasting Nora should be in middle grade reading list. I don't know what I mean. I don't want to comment on how they created a reading list in the Philippines, but it should it should improve.
Yeah.
It should add more to it. Like I've seen a lot of my students still reading books that I have read when I was in high school, and that was a long time. So
It
yeah.
says
Yeah.
that To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird is still on the reading list after this day. Um yeah, sabi ni Kate, to be honest, more books set in non-Western countries need to be on the school reading lists. Yeah, even here in the Philippines or abroad. And Trish said also the same thing. I guess what's really nice about Everlasting Nora to be a reading material in school is that there's a lot of topics to delve into, and also like the reality in the Philippines, either with status, economic status, society, interrelationship, the community. There's a lot of topics in this one that we could dive into. So yeah, sabi ni Trish also, kuha daw ni Marty yung audiobook. I don't know if Marie and Justin also listened to the audiobook. Did you too? No? Alright. Good for
Why was
you.
the narrator like off, like the
No,
pronunciation and stuff?
and I think the narrator is a Filipino as well, but I don't know. There's something about the way she pronounces words or like the dialogues is, I don't know. It's kind of off for me. It's like sabi ni Trish sa akin, it's like you're listening to a kindergarten teacher or a preschool teacher wherein everything has to be emphasized,
Oh,
something like that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's kind of off for me, but it's fine. It's fine. We survived it. Marty and I survived. Sabi niya, akala ko matanda kausap ni Nora sa first chapter. Friend niya pala, same. Like, I have the same feeling that there's something, there's no distinct if the what do you call this? The dialogue is from a child or from an old lady. So, yeah. Now, wait lang. Ayan, sabi niya, down with struggling to
Yeah.
say. All right, so yeah, we're not gonna dive into the educational system in the Philippines. That's a different topic. But anyway, we hope that you could get it into a reading list. By the way, there's also like a discussion in here at the back of the book. So if you want to recommend this to a middle grade, either in your family or I don't know, a friend, there's like reading Everlasting Nora with your children discussion questions, pre and post reading. The questions itself are for middle grades, so I think that's a good one if you want to recommend it to someone who is younger. Last about the elements of the book is what do you think about the storyline or the plot itself? We also talked about earlier how detailed, how I don't know, dense the events of this story is. But what do you think of it personally? Did you find it really helpful or I don't know, negative or positive side of everything that went through? Ang dami nangyari dito. The story, the plot line, the plot was like a roller coaster ride, right? It's not really a regular middle grade book, at least in my opinion. What about you? What do you think about the plot and the storyline? Any of you?
I think the only off part for me was when she had to deal with Tiger, because it was very action packed, but at the same time it's like, how are you outsmarting this like old dude? And you
Yeah.
just I don't know, like, are we allowed to say spoilers? But
Yeah.
but like when she gets buried in the like coffin,
Yeah.
and she had to like dig her way out of there, I was just like, what the heck is going on? Like,
Yeah.
that's the only part that was like a little off for me. And when they were in that building and she had to save Jojo, so that part was kind of just like a little off for me. But I mean, everything else was fine. It was good. But that was just like, what the heck is going on? Like,
I agree.
talaga. It's like yung setting niya.
No, you know what I remembered about that scene with Tiger, all the scenes with Tiger is how like filmmakers or directors filmed old Filipino films.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
like if you watch a lot of action movies from Philippine setting or Philippine directors or whatever, there's like a vibe. Like there's a vibe. You know what? Yung mga FPJ,
Yeah.
ano ba
Two buttons is like, walang, yung two buttons dito, naka-open, tapos may tuck-in sila.
Yeah.
Yung vibe
And then lagi naka-jacket. Yung mga ganong scene. Like,
ang
if
init
you,
sa Pinas, pero naka-jacket ka. Like, tapos daming gel sa buhok mo. It's like,
so those were the things that I have like imagined in my head. Like Tiger is like FPJ in my head during the whole time. So yeah, yeah, how about you guys? About the storyline and the plot?
I think the storyline is dated. Just like what you said. It feels like more of 90s movie, 90s teleserye than a modern contemporary middle grade happening in late like middle 2000 or early 2000, because of, yes, the actions and some some details, some parts of the plot that are not realistic, like how could you even uh, get out of the coffin when,
Yeah.
with a bone, and how did Tiger tie her up actually so that she could tear it up with a bone, and why would Tiger tie her with a cloth that can be torn with a bone? And anyway, yun. Yun. It's dated. Maybe this was worked on earlier, but then was only published now or late. It feels like that. It feels like it was written a lot earlier than the publication date. That's why it feels dated for me. And if you remember, and I often, who's that? Sharon Coneta. I remember her. Well, she was even mentioned in the book, and I remember her old movies and old teleseries featuring Sharon Cuneta, and uh, it feels like I'm watching magpakailanman in my mother's youth, something like that. It needs some updating. The atmosphere needs some updating so that our modern readers could keep up, because it
Yeah.
feels vintage for me.
Yeah, probably if we have read this when we were younger, like our batch, like for example, us who grew up in 90s movies or films, I think we could relate to how the plot went. But if it's for like modern middle grades, like 2000s and right now 21st century, so I think it would, yeah, a little bit dated. It was published in 2018, so I was a little bit surprised with how everything went, and well, not too much gadget has been going on as well. There's like, I don't know, I don't think there's like this, what do you call this? I was thinking about bakit wala silang Facebook? I mean, I know that there's like poor, but I've seen my students who have no decent shelter, but they still go to computer shops to like
They have
put
Facebooks.
Facebook. Yeah, they have Facebooks. Like they don't have enough money as well. But I think yeah, the plot could have been a little bit improved for me. How about you, Marie?
It felt a lot like an episode of Scooby Doo, except all of the adults in the gang was Nora. And she was finding out that the adult in their life is, the villain. I went into this book not knowing anything about the plot or anything about the characters. Just knew it was set in the Philippines about a young Filipino girl. So when everything happened, I was sitting there like, is this the same book? Like, there's so much that goes on, and I honestly, the Scooby Doo reference is the best thing I can compare it to, because like Marty was describing the escape from the tomb, and then the bone and it was a little, yeah.
That scene also was a little off for me, like when Tiger put her in the tomb or coffin. So yeah, a little bit off. But I think the plot line or the storyline could have been a little bit improved in my opinion, so that it would be more, I don't know, engaging and more modern, something that like children these days could actually relate to, because it was like published a little 2 years ago. So yeah, that's all there is. Last probably question I have for you today is, what have you learned, just general thoughts, what are your takeaways from Nora's story, from like, of course we are, even though we are in different parts of the world, we are Filipino girls at heart, and what are your biggest takeaway in Nora's story or the whole book itself? What do you think? What do you think? Okay, go ahead, Marty.
From Nora, I learned that I can solve my problem without the government's help.
Without the police. Remember, okay, I remember also, sorry. I remembered like the movies na you don't need the police because they're always late naman coming to the scenes. And that happened also in Nora's story. Do you remember? So
Yeah.
yeah, very
Even who's that? Rudy? Mang Rudy
um,
ba yun?
I
Mhm.
think.
Mang
Yeah.
Rudy? Even Mang Rudy was late.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Having an
like
old
just hold on. We can solve this without the government, without social workers, without NHA. We can solve we can solve this problem. Just be contented where you live, and we can move on now. Kidding aside, we learned that even kids suffer a lot due to adults' problems, misbehavior, misactions. Can I say that? Actually, Nora's predicament was due to her mother's gambling, and that was not for me. It was not addressed well. It was not handled well. Even at the ending, I was waiting for somebody to talk to the mother and make her realize. But at the end, it was like an epiphany, which is just okay. It's okay to have an epiphany that gambling is wrong. You should not do that. It's going to ruin your child's life. But yeah, so I hope that we could talk about this mental health issue and the effect of our as adults. Are we as adults? We have to be careful on how we act, especially if we are now parents, especially if we are going to be an influence to somebody younger. And so I have my major takeaway is be con what do you call- be conscious with how you act and about your decision makings, and be what do you call that? Parang um how do you say that? Be yeah, be considerate about the welfare of the younger education next to you before you act as an adult because they are looking up to you. We're fortunate that Nora is Nora and she's an OP character. But if you do that to a child, leaving her alone in a grave house, I don't think that a normal child with a sheltered child who lost everything in her life would succeed as Nora did. So again, as adult, I think we have to be conscious on our decision making. Okay, let's think about the younger people whenever we act. So yeah, as an adult,
yeah, as an adult. I think also like um one of the things that I have picked up from this book is how the decisions of the adults really affected what happened to their children. And that's something that I don't know. I agree with Marty that there are things that wasn't addressed properly even at the conclusion. So yeah, that's a good one. What about you girls? Anyone?
Mm.
That like what Marty said was kind of most of what I was gonna say. Um, I also really liked there was a folk tale that was brought up, the tree with no name
Mango
or something
tree.
like that. Yeah, and I liked that kind of reflected the other tenants at the cemetery who were really generous despite also being in really unfortunate situations. So I think the moral being, you can still be gracious and be helpful and be generous, no matter your situation. I really like that as well.
That's a good one. You just did.
Um, I feel like in the book, like I keep saying, education is so important for kids, and at the same time, it's like just because Nora is this like 12-year-old doesn't mean her problems aren't valid or that she doesn't have a lot going on, because really she does have a lot going on. I mean, to somebody that's looking on the outside, it might not seem like it because everybody is this like everyone in the graveyard has the same situation, but at the same time, I feel like Nora's problems are very valid and her emotions and her feelings. And it's really sad to see that she had to grow up so early or mature so early because she had to take care of herself and her mom, and they basically like switch places because her mom's not just in the right headspace because she's like she has an addiction, which I think also needed to be addressed a little bit more. But yeah, I think that a lot of kids in the Philippines as well um, grow up very early at a young age. They have to take care of their families. They have to take care of like they have to help take care of their families or their like younger siblings, which I think is something that not a lot of people see is not a problem necessarily, but also it's like not their job, you know? So,
Yeah. I think one of probably the common opinions that we have about this book is how the character of Nora was forced to mature that early because of a lot of things that happened to her in her life. And also Polly said here about people always say that ang bata-bata mo pa, ano bang pwedeng maging problema mo? And they
mm,
don't even realize that they could be sometimes the problem of the child, which is so true. Like the things that the experiences of the child with adults in her life, either a family or someone in the community, could greatly affect the children. And I think we all know that as adults, when we are growing up, the adults in our life also affected or influenced us greatly. And it's just that sometimes probably we forget that, and that's really sad, I think, especially if you're already a parent. And yeah, I think my greatest takeaway from this is how the life of these children were greatly affected, and they just go through with it, like they are trying to survive every day. It's a really sad reality, but I thought of my students while I was reading this. Like I have a lot of students I knew from public school who had to stop going to school, even though as mentioned by Justin earlier, even though it's in public, you have to buy your own uniform, you have to of course kailangan mo ng allowance to go to school every day because you have to eat. There's also a lot of like photocopies, projects, notebooks. So there are still a lot of things that should be considered. There's a lot. So in the Philippines, the educational system is not perfect by any means. And I know that the government is kind of trying their best. And as public teachers, we're trying our best. But there are really things that we couldn't control as well. So if the student said na they can't go to school because they have to take care of their mother who is sick, which apparently also happened to Nora, or they don't have any home or shelter because they especially sa amin laging may nasusunugan sa community ng school namin. So it was a really tough time, and I was really so heartbroken because I remembered a lot of my students in this book. But what I really loved about this is that how it actually showed us reality. It's a reality, and it's something that we should acknowledge as Filipinos. Like Philippines is not all about beaches and not all about sunshine and not all about tourism. There's a lot of problems in the Philippines that should be addressed, and we rarely see it in books. We rarely see it in news, even in news and articles. But yeah, I think Marie Miranda Cruz, just like how I see other Filipino authors who are very brave in tackling these issues, I think that she did a great job in this one. I don't know where she is based at the moment, but I remembered like reading a biography or like an introduction of this author, that she was actually raised or she was based in the US or abroad, but then she went in the Philippines and she saw these children in North Cemetery, and that inspired her to create the story of Nora. So I don't know if she lived here for a long time or she lived in abroad for a long time, but I think the author did a great job in reflecting or mirroring the reality of the Filipinos, the ones with underprivileged life. And I am just really so proud of this book. And I was so happy because it's published internationally. And I actually got my copy from book outlets, so I know that it's published internationally. So yeah, those are the things that I was really glad that I was able to read this book. Yeah, so I think that ends our discussion. Again, I am so thankful for the three of you for agreeing to this discussion. Thank you then sa mga audience namin. I'm sorry that we weren't able to go through all your comments earlier. There are a lot of comments from different, yeah, from all of them, even though hindi nila nabasa yung libro. But I hope that you could give it a chance. It's a really good reflection of the Filipino reality. And I don't know, you will probably thought na, okay, I am very privileged that I have a home, that I have a family, that I have grandparents who really love me like that. So those are the things that really made me realize in this book. So before we end this one, would you like to? Do you have any recommendations, even though it's not Filipino book, middle grades recommendations that you could give to our audience who are still watching, and they can go back to this live show and list down your recommendations? Do you read a lot of middle grades? Marty, I also know that Marty has a lot of like Filipino Rex, but she has a video for that. I hope that you could check that out. But just one to two middle grade books that we have in mind right now. Anyone?
Oh Lord.
Hurricane Child by Kason Calendar is one
Sorry,
that I read recently. By what?
what's the title again? Sorry.
Hurricane Child by Kason Calendar.
Ooh, that's with the like white cover, I think.
I would go grab it right now, but my dog's asleep on my lap.
I know.
It has a little girl on the cover as well.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it takes place in the Caribbean. It takes place in the Caribbean, and it follows a girl who lives on a completely different island from where she goes to school. So she has to like boat to school every single day. And she also has a very unfortunate situation with her family. She is, I think, the only Black girl in her grade or something. So she's bullied by the white kids. Even though it takes place in the Caribbean, it's a majority white school. So it does talk about racism and that kind of thing. But it's also middle grade. So I felt it very similar to Everlasting Nora because it tackles a lot of deep issues, doesn't go too deep because it's middle grade, but it has that pacing, it talks about those issues, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, that's a good one. I am posting the title. Am I correct? This is the one with. It's actually named Karen Calendar. Is Case and Calendar and
That's
Karen
their
Calendar
dead
the same?
name. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right.
Most copies these days should have Kason on it.
Oh, all right, all right. Yeah, but yeah, that's the book title, right? Okay, that's good. How about the two of you? Do you have any Rex, middle grade Rex, before we end this live?
I love how Marty's reaching back for something.
Marty is reaching out something.
The most recent one that I read was We Dream of Space by Erin and Tara Kelly. I really like that one too because of Bird. She was also another character that was a little mature for her age, but also it highlighted a lot of like her passion for science and space. And I don't really see a lot of that in books as well. I definitely need to expand my reading, but I've never seen like a kid being highlighted with her passion for school and like space and science. And I also really liked the family dynamics in that book because it wasn't very healthy, but at the same time it was showcased how the kids were being affected by their parents' relationship. So that's another one that I really liked.
Yeah, we actually did the live show as well of We Dream of Space last month. Yeah, last month with Donna and Sai. I agree that I also enjoyed that book, but also I have like some problems with the family dynamics because again, as Justine have said, it's kind of unhealthy. So yeah, but this is still worth a try. Anyway, it's gonna be. I have a playlist for all the live show that we have so far for In Cosmic Stream, so it's gonna be there. How about you, Marty? Do you have anything that you have right now you picked up from your shelf?
I just pick it up because I was thinking about a story that's similar to Everlasting Nora, and actually I don't read a lot of contemporary because I'm more of a fantasy reader, and the first thing that came to mind actually is School for Good and Evil, and the girl who circumnavigated fairyland. But those are fantasy novels. But let's go here. This is I have 10% chart. This is my code. Raise the Night by Kristen Hubbard,
Mhm.
Hubbard. Raise the Night. This is post-apocalyptic middle grade.
Wow.
If yes, it sounds so exciting. The world ended long time ago, and we have a character, a girl, 12-year-old named Either. I don't know how to pronounce it. Don't judge Either. It sounds like either,
Mhm.
Eider. So, but I pronounce it as Either. So Either. Um, Either. Oh no no. The world ended long time ago, and then there are these couple of like a dozen kids that are in that were I they were made to believe that they were the only human beings in the planet, and they are like in a camp, and they have this somebody they call the teacher, and the teacher is somebody who controls um, wait, I forgot if it's a he or a she, but she or he is somebody who's like Miss Peregrine, something like that. Somebody who
Mhm.
manages the entire camp. But the teacher says that you are the only children alive. You are the hope of this world. We saved you because you are special. And I thought it was going to be X-Men by the time, but it's not. It also has a lot of family tropes, drama, resiliency because of their struggles. And one day, either found a paper, a slip of paper that slipped in their camp, and it read some. It's like what do you call those pamphlet? It's like a pamphlet of
Mhm.
a subdivision or something like that. Um, and then they either became curious. Where did this paper uh, come from? Because you said that we are the only person here, and this paper is a new paper. It's fresh, and then the story goes from there. And so it's about finding out the truth, believing or not believing to your family. Are they telling you the truth? Are you going to believe them because they are family, or because they are telling the truth, or something like that? And she's 12-year old, and that's why she does not uh, know what to do that during that time. So I hope
Wow.
I gave it justice, but it sounds like that.
Wow, it's actually very interesting. I haven't heard of that book, but I
Yeah.
added it
Yes,
on my Goodreads. I haven't read a book that is dystopian, but is for middle grades, so I am gonna check that out. But anyway, there's a recommendation from Adrian here. Gracefully Grayson by Amy Polonsky. I hope that I'm pronouncing that correct. But thank you for that. I'm just going to recommend a book that I read in January, and I think a lot of you have seen or read this book as well. See You in the Cosmos by Jack Cheng. When I picked this book up, I thought it was young adult, contemporary about grief and loss, and then I found out that it's middle grade because the protagonist in here is 11-year-old. So he's going on an adventure because he's a very parang siyang si Bird in We Dream of Space. He's very into science and cosmos and all that stuff. And then he's going to this place wherein he's going to attend an event for like shuttles, and he's trying to uh wait lang. Parang he's trying to launch his own shuttle in this event. Parang ganon. And then the family dynamics in here is as problematic as We Dream of Space as
Oh,
well. There's some the the mother in here is neglectful, very neglectful, but there's a reason for it. So you're going to find it out in the end. And then his father died when he was like 3 years old, so like 8 years ago. And then his brother is not in their home because he's working in a different state. So in short, in conclusion, he's alone, and he's very responsible, very, I don't know, independent. He cooks for himself. He goes to school by himself. He takes care of his dog. Ayan, yung dog niya. And
Oh,
his dog's name is Carl Sagan because it's after Dr. Carl Sagan, who is his hero. And it's just a very, very cute story of a boy who just wanted to do something for his own, but then there's like a problem in his family. And it's in a very what do you call this? Very creative writing style or narrative, because it was like he's recording on a broken iPod of like a friend of his brother gave it to him, and is recording his daily life so that when he launched his shuttle, the aliens who will get his shuttle will get the recordings. So he was like trying to tell the story of his life on Earth. So it was like the chapters are called new recordings, and then there's like 7 minutes and 4 seconds, something like that. And he's trying to record everything that's happening in his life. And it's just so cute. I just love this book so much. One of my favorite books in January. Um, I highly recommend this as well. If you like sad books, go for this.
yes, I
If
love
you like
dysfunctional families.
yeah,
I relate.
families that are kind of dysfunctional and problematic, but their protagonist is really good. Like the writing style is really good. There's also like a found family trope in there, so he will find this group of people that he will become comfortable and who will care for him, and it was just so sweet. I love that book so much. Anyway, Polly also here have a recommendation, like very, very quick. A Mary and the Night Brothers is a fantastic MG fantasy by a black author. All right, so I'll check this out because it's Black History Month. Anyway, so before we end this live show, I'm just gonna announce the book for February, which is this month for In Cosmic Dreams, is actually from a black author as well. It's King and the Dragonflies by Kaysen Calendar. I don't know if any of you have read this book, but I'm so excited because I've read Felix Ever After last year, and I love that book so much. So I found that Case and Calendar um actually wrote middle grade books, and Marie also mentioned one of their books earlier. So I'm just so excited about this. It's about King and the Dragonflies. So King is like a name of the child, and I feel like it's also a sad book. I don't know what's with me with sad books, but I just feel like I'm so interested to read this book. The discussion would be for this one is going to be on March, first week of March. So I'm going to read it for the whole month of February. So if you would like to join me and other hosts, I'm so excited to announce our co-host as well for March. And yeah, I'm just really so excited. But yeah, this is the book for this month. And then I don't have my physical copy yet because I just ordered it and it's on its way to me. But the book for March is going to be Amal Unbound. I hope that you could check this out. I'm going to type in here. This book naman is from a Pakistani author, and I am just so excited to share it with you. This is about a child, or I think she is 12 years old, and he comes from this village or tribe in Pakistan, and I found out that the author is the author of Yes, No, Maybe So. I forgot if this is right. With like Becky Abertally, if you've seen that book, a YA book, and then this is the author of Amal and Bound. So this is the book for March of In Cosmic Dreams. So I hope you could join us as well. But anyway, that's it for this live show. Thank you so much, Marie, Justin, and Marty, for making time for In Cosmic Dreams. Your dogs are so cute. Like all your
Hey,
dogs.
mine's fine. Artie!
What's it with your dogs? I don't have my dogs with me. They're downstairs. But yeah, they're also cute. All
Puppet
right.
show na po tayo dito.
Dog show na pala. But yeah,
Let's go.
thank you so much for agreeing with me. Again, just before I end, all their links will be on the description box. Please subscribe to them as well. They're on BookTube as well, and they create amazing content. Some of them also created like journaling. I love your journal videos, the two of you, and I don't have any
Yeah.
talent for that. So yeah, thank you so much for creating those videos. But thank you so much, and I'm gonna end the live here. Thank you guys for staying with us.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
All right, I'm gonna end broadcast.